today we are going to learn about respiration, which is a biochemical process, and it helps in oxidation, that is breakdown of food, to release energy. What does it mean? It means that the food we eat and the oxygen that we inhale, they mix together, and oxygen helps the food to break down, and by that process energy is released, and that we use in our daily life for different activities. This respiration is of two types. One is aerobic and another one is anaerobic. Aerobic is with oxygen and anaerobic is without oxygen. That means in aerobic respiration, the respiration which takes place in the presence of oxygen, right? That means what? That glucose is the food that we are eating, is going to break down into carbon dioxide and water and releases lot of energy as well. Whereas in anaerobic respiration, there oxygen is not there at all. Here the end product is lactic acid and energy. Now let me give you a full equation which suggests that how this glucose breaks down. Like glucose in cytoplasm, that is in the cell, right? This is 6 carbon molecule. Glucose has 6 carbons in it. In cytoplasm, when it combines with oxygen, it turns into pyruvate, and this is 3 carbon molecule. Fine. Now what happens? जिस एनर्जी की हम बात कर रहे हैं, this energy, it is in the form of ATP. The ATP full form is adenosine triphosphate. Okay? So, if we are talking about ATP molecule, which is the energy currency of most cellular processes, this is adenosine triphosphate, and the energy is released by breaking down of these ATP molecules to derive reactions which are generally endothermic and which are taking place in the cell. Now let's talk of human respiratory system. Human respiratory system has got 3 steps. Some steps are there. Now first step is breathing. Second step is exchange of gases, and the third step is oxidation of food. Now, what exactly I want to tell you is how the oxygen, goes from one step to another step. So, first of all, through our nostrils, we are taking oxygen. It is going through nasal passage in the nasal cavity, then passes through pharynx, then larynx, that is windpipe, it goes to trachea, then it enters into the lungs where it goes to bronchi, then bronchioles, then alveoli, and then it goes to blood capillaries. Now this portion, after trachea, this whole portion, it is inside the lungs, right? I'll just draw the diagram and explain you how it happens. Now let me make the diagram that how this, step, these, passages are there inside our respiratory system. Now see, this is nose, and here are nostrils, and this is nasal cavity, and from here, say it comes like down and turns into, a pipe which is called trachea. It now divides into bronchioles, bronchi, which enters into, say, lungs, like this. Like this, it enters. And here is the diaphragm. It enters like this into the lungs, and then it converts, diverges into alveoli. See, यहाँ पर rib cage होता है, there are ribs here, और ये diaphragm है. Fine, and it is connected to heart also. So the blood capillaries, they are taking oxygen from here and going back to lungs and back to heart, and the heart is pumping it down to various parts of the body, collecting carbon dioxide and giving back to heart, and the heart gives back to lungs, and the carbon dioxide comes out of this nasal cavity again. Now let me tell you certain things that what exactly happens. So this is nostril, right somewhere here is pharynx, and ये गले वाला part है, गला जहाँ पर होता है, this is larynx, और you can say voice box यहाँ पर ही होता है, और इसी एयर की प्रेशर की वजह से जो वॉइस बॉक्स है उसके अंदर आवाज़ प्रोड्यूस होती है. Now this is trachea, these are lungs, fine, here ribs are there, ये पूरा एक केज है, पूरा सब केज है, and this is bronchi, fine, then these are cartilages. ये थोड़ा सा फ्रिक्शन बढ़ाने के लिए cartilages ट्रैकिया के अंदर होती है ताकि movement of air is easy to go inside, and these are alveoli. Let's talk of mechanism of breathing. That means exactly how do we breathe. तो इसमें दो प्रोसेसेस होते हैं. वन इज inhalation and another one is exhalation. This is for expiration. सांस को बाहर निकालने के लिए this process is there, and this is for inspiration of gases. Inhalation and exhalation. So in this process, first thing is thoracic cavity. Thoracic का क्या मतलब होता है? Thoracic cavity का मतलब होता है chest region. कमर से ऊपर का जो पार्ट है that is called as thoracic cavity. It expands. सांस लेते हैं जब तो thoracic cavity जो chest वाला पार्ट है वो थोड़ा सा बाहर की तरफ पर आता है, और जो ribs होती हैं they are lift up. क्यों ऐसा होता है? ताकि डायाफ्राम को हेल्प मिले, थोड़ा सा वो फ्लैट हो जाता है, एंड आफ्टर बीइंग फ्लैट व्हाट हैपन्स इज द लंग्स गेट मोर space to get more volume of oxygen into it, so that the lungs are totally filled with air. So diaphragm becomes flat shaped and volume of lungs increases and the air enters the lungs. Fine. So these are the steps for inhalation. And in exhalation, we see what? We see the opposite of it. Thoracic cavity contracts. Ribs move downwards. Then diaphragm takes its original shape. Diaphragm becomes dome shaped. Like थोड़ा सा उठा हुआ होता है, and the volume of the lungs decreases and the air exits from lungs. तो क्या हुआ? इनहेलेशन में thoracic cavity expand हुई, ribs थोड़ी बाहर की तरफ आई, diaphragm flat हो गया, और जो volume है. Now let's understand how the exchange of gases takes place inside organisms, high organisms especially. So when the air is reaching lungs, it passes through alveoli, right? As you know, increase हुआ होता है surface काफी सारा, so oxygen is absorbed. Where? Inside the alveoli. So more of oxygen is there in the alveoli. Then what happens is, now the concentration is more of oxygen in alveoli than its surrounding. मतलब surrounding में तो कम है, alveoli में concentration of oxygen is more than surroundings. Surroundings के अंदर the concentration is लेस. और सराउंडिंग्स में क्या है? सराउंडिंग्स में है ब्लड कैपिलरीज, तो उनके अंदर अभी कंसंट्रेशन कैसी है? कम है. तो व्हाट हैपन्स नाउ? ब्लड कैपिलरीज में, ब्लड कैपिलरीज को आई एम राइटिंग BC. ब्लड कैपिलरीज क्या होता है? इसके अंदर बहुत सारा अभी वेस्ट है, ठीक है? दे कैरी मोर ऑफ वेस्ट, और वेस्ट कौन सा? कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड अभी ज़्यादा है। एल्वियोलाई में ऑक्सीजन ज़्यादा है, ब्लड कैपिलरीज में कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड ज़्यादा है। इस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम पे क्या होता है? डिफ्यूजन टेक्स प्लेस। एज यू नो, डिफ्यूजन इज व्हाट इट इज, कंसंट्रेशन ग्रेडियंट पर जो ज़्यादा है वो कम की तरफ मूव करना शुरू कर देता है, और जो कम है वो मतलब वो चीज़ एक्सेप्ट करने लगता है। तो इस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम में क्या होता है? कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड फ्रॉम द ब्लड goes to alveoli and oxygen from alveoli goes to blood capillaries, right? alveoli में कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड आने के बाद it is again thrown out through nostrils, और जब ये ऑक्सीजन ब्लड कैपिलरी में आता है तो ब्लड इज always traveling from one place to another place, so it takes to various parts of the body. ऑक्सीजन को different parts में लेके चला जाता है. So this is how assimilation of oxygen takes place. Not assimilation, I should sharing of like distribution of oxygen takes place. Right? तो एल्वियोलाइज में आपने देखा था कि मैंने जो बनाया था वो थोड़ा बलून शेप, बड़े बड़े जैसे बलून्स होते हैं उस तरह का स्ट्रक्चर आपने देखा होगा. एंड द रीज़न दे आर लाइक दैट नेचुरली बिकॉज इट गिव्स मोर एरिया टू एल्वियोलाइज, सो दैट उसका सरफेस एरिया बढ़ जाता है और इट्स एफिशिएंसी टू एक्सचेंज गैसेस बिकम्स मोर.